Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to have an opportunity to talk to you through what's happened over now a number of years. I think I don't need to comment too much on this picture and this slide, but I would like everyone to really understand the importance of Sri Mataji's legacy. And I'm going to go through this and what has happened over the years to make sure that everyone has access to Sri Mataji's legacy, but also the ways we or she has asked us to protect the legacy, her legacy, over the years. So the way NIPC has been organized, if you can go to the next slide, is Sri Mataji herself set up NIPC. NIPC stands for Nirmal Intellectual Property Corporation. So she knew at that time that spreading Sahaja Yoga through her teachings, through her talks, through her videos was a key element, and that's why she asked us to do this work. But she also made us understand that we have to protect this work from potential misuse by people, and that's why we set up this structure. You can see the NIPC is the kind of corporate structure which has been set up by Sri Mataji. So NIPC owns all the copyrights and trademarks, not only of her talks, but of a number of names which have been registered in different countries. Sahaja Yoga being one of them, and this falls under NIPC. But NIPC has also set up an operating structure because we had to make sure that we manage and we preserve all of Sri Mataji's stock. And this is why we set up an operating structure called Nirmal Vidya. In parallel, we set up different teams. A team working on the website, and also, you will understand later on, a legal team led by Paul. Where is Paul? I can't see him. Oh, good. So Paul is heading our legal team because over the years we had some legal issues which we're confronted with, and we still have, and unfortunately, it comes up on a very regular basis. And then we have, different teams which do different work in terms of collecting, editing, but I will come to that a little bit later. Now, I'd like to just explain to you what one of the structure, which is called Devi Production, does or has been doing for the last 20 years now. Basically, there are a team of people trying to collect the tapes all over the world. I'm talking about videotapes, but also audio tapes. And unfortunately, some of these tapes were badly damaged. So Devi Production had a structure to repair, to clean the tapes. And then once the tapes were cleaned, they were digitized, which means we transferred what was a magnetic tape onto a computer so that we would have access, unlimited access, to all the data which were on the tapes. Then, after that, we edited what we call a master tape, and then we started doing some optimizing event. Why optimizing? Because some events where Sri Mataji took part of were recorded by, for example, 4 or 5 different cameras. So we had 4 or different recordings. sometimes recording the same parts, sometimes different parts, so we had to put everything together and make sure that we ended up with one single complete event. So this work has been done and is still being done by Devi Production, which is a structure which is based in Austria. The same applies to audio tapes. So we are collecting audio tapes because, I mean, for those who were there in the early days, I mean, videos only came later. But we still have audio recordings from the 70s. And that's, you know, it's just an amazing thing to be able to listen to these early talks. And I remember a yogi in Mumbai called Mr. Pai. Mr. Pai unfortunately passed away many years ago, but I know his son Avdut very well, and Mr. Pai was going from one place to the other with his audio recording device and, you know, accompanying Shrimataji in 1973, 1974 in all the programs of the Mumbai region. And he was always there with his recording device, and we have some of these tapes which we are trying to convert into something, because unfortunately some of them have a poor quality, so we have to make sure that we enhance the quality of the tapes so that it's understandable by everyone. So now from there we decided to set up a website or two websites which contain as much as we have. So the two websites are nirmalavidya.org and amruta.org. So you may ask, why two websites? Well, simply because Amruta started a little bit before Nirmala Vidya and had already a great library, and we decided to maintain the two websites because some of the yogis felt more comfortable with Amruta and others with Nirmala Vidya. But at the end, it does not matter, because what is on Amruta is on Nirmala Vidya and vice versa. So the two websites contain the same amount of information. And for example, Nirmala Vidya is a website which is accessible, of course, through internet, but also just on your phone. Whether it's, you know, an Apple phone or an Android, you just download the app and you have access to a lot. I wouldn't say all of the talks, you'll come to that a little bit later, but to many, many talks of Shrimataji. At the moment, this is what we have. So some people may think, wow, it's a lot, but it's not complete. You can see we have, you know, 1,800, more than 1,800 videos. People say, wow, that's great. And I agree with you. I haven't been through all of them, and every day I discover new videos. Same for audios. We have over 2,000, but we also realize one thing, that we have over 1,000 events which are missing. We know they exist. We know that they are somewhere. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get hold of the tapes, whether they are audio tapes or videotapes. So that's why we need your help. We need your help at different levels. First of all, we need your help to translate some of the talks from Hindi, Marathi to English, because, you know, in the early days, Shrimataji spent a lot of time in India. And most of the talks in India were in Marathi and in Hindi. So we, the Western guys, would love to, you know, understand what Shrimataji was saying. So, and we know these talks are there, but just we need the help of the native Indians from Maharashtra or from other parts of India to translate these talks into English so that we can, you know, have access to this talk. The same works the other way around. And we are currently in touch with some Indian yogis because they would like to use the English tapes to have them translated in Hindi, in Marathi, but also, in other languages in India, which are not used to listen to English or even Hindi tapes. In South India, they'd love to have some of the tapes translated. So, how to help? Well, Amruta has a section which is there for transcriptions and translations. The transcription is a very simple process. You all know how it works. You take the spoken word from Shrimataji and you write down the word. So we have the literal transcription of what Shrimataji says, and from there we can start the process of translating. So Amruta has set up all the ways for you to access files for transcriptions and translations. And we need just yogis to, stick perhaps to one tape and do the work. It takes some hours, I agree, but there are, tens or hundreds of thousands of yogis around the world, and if everyone does a little bit of work, this work can be completed as, in a very fast way. Let's just come back one. The other thing which is more related to the US, and this is a typical US issue which I'd love to get sorted out as soon as possible. We have in Phoenix, Arizona, about 600 videotapes which are stored in a temperature-controlled area. So for that respect, they are safe. The problem is these are all magnetic tapes. So they probably don't need any cleaning because they are well preserved, but they need to be digitized. We need someone to do the work of putting the tape in a reader and then digitize the content onto a computer. This is approximately a 2-month job. And if there are people willing to spend 2 months in Arizona, in Phoenix, to do the work, we would be happy to get the person to Austria, get the person trained. It takes about 2 weeks to be trained on that, and then have the person sent back to Arizona. The person who holds the so-called library is happy to look after the person. Unfortunately, she can't do the work because she's got many other things to do. So we need to find someone who's ready to do that. And that would help us a lot because Shrimataji spent a lot of time in the US. And when we look at the library of what we have, we know that there are many, many events which do not appear in our library and most likely are there in Arizona. So, if anyone is interested, please get in touch with me, and then we see how we can move forward. Now, why is time of essence? There are 2 reasons. The first one is tapes do get damaged. The average lifespan of a magnetic tape is maximum, people say, between 10 to 15 years. In most of the cases, talks of Shrimataji are even, older than that. And we need people, particularly this message is more for, I would say, the oldies, the dinosaurs like me, who were there when Shrimataji made all these talks. I mean, if you are aware of a talk Shrimataji gave at a particular place at a particular time, and it's not in our library, I mean, please mention it to us, and maybe we'll find ways to get access to this tape. This is why I'm saying also time is of essence for us, because, we get older, our memory, as far as I'm concerned, tends to fade. So, sometimes I forget that Shrimataji was at a particular place and had a particularly talk on a particular subject. I'm not talking about private discussions she had with yogis which were recorded. I'm talking about talks she had even with a few yogis about a particular subject. And this is where we have only a limited amount of time to try and recover these precious talks, these precious tapes. So if you know, the oldest yogi who had an opportunity to spend time with Sri Mataji, do remember some of the talks, and if they check the list which is available on the two websites, and the talk does not appear, please mention it to us. That would help us a lot. Now, of course, this is all, you know, funded by donations. Why? Because, for example, the structure in Austria consists of, you know, a whole set of offices with computer equipment, with people who work full-time, and these people, I mean, they need to live, they need to be paid. So they're only paid through donations. You remember some years ago, people started making, I would say not making money, but using tapes as a commercial tool. And we thought that's not what Sri Mataji wanted. Sri Mataji never said you should make money out of Satya Yoga. On the contrary. So that's when we decided, said, look, all the talks, whether they are audio, they are videos, should be free. Nobody should pay for Sri Mataji's teaching, and that's what we did. However, the cost did not disappear. So the costs are still there, and so if you want to help donate, please go to the website, and there is a donation section, and you know, we would be glad to get your support. In parallel to that, we're talking about the operations, but we're talking earlier about some legal work. I mean, yes, in some instances we had to hire some lawyers to make sure that some misuse of Sri Mataji's name or even Sri Mataji's talks stopped immediately. Because some people use Sri Mataji to promote themselves, promote their own commercial activities, and even ask money for what they were doing in parallel using Sri Mataji's talk. And this is why we used, you know, lawyers to stop these activities. So, as far as the US is concerned, I'm just leaving you my phone details and emails if, you know, you need to or you want to get in touch with me. I'm available most of the day, so don't hesitate. Thank you very much.
A few months ago, some of you may know, when questions going around the email lists, some of us, me included, we have boxes of audio tapes in the basement. What do you suggest should we do with those?
Thank you, Herbert. Yeah, this is very, very important because the first people can do if they have audio or videotapes is to check whether the events which has been recorded on the tape is already available on the database or not. If not, I mean, you should definitely get in touch with one of us, and we will indicate you what to do with the tape, where to send the tape, so that we can add it to the library and make it available to everyone. That works for you know, audios and videos. Now, that's been, you know, a permanent question. I have magnetic tapes of talks, but they are all, first of all, they aren't any master tapes. They're just copies which I bought. And what shall I do with them? This is the difficult question, because we know that, you know, the magnetic tapes will get damaged over time. But as we have already the talk in our database, I would say, you know, you make the best possible, you think of the best possible way to either keep the tapes or dispose them in a most auspicious way. I remember, you know, Uncle Grégoire had the same issue, I think, with some books of some pictures of Sri Mataji. And he thought, oh, I will probably put them in a big bag, attach them to a stone, and drop them in the middle of Lac Léman in Switzerland. So he did that. Unfortunately, you know, the rope broke, and all the pictures came to the surface and were floating in the middle of the Lac Léman. But of course, over time they disappeared. But he thought, that might be a suspicious way to dispose of some of Shimataji's pictures or documents relating to Sahaja Yoga. So, if these are not masters, if these are events which you already have in the library, think of the best way to either you keep them for as long as you can, or you dispose them in the most auspicious way. Yes, Brian.
My name is Dr. Brian. I'm from London. Thank you very much, Christian. And one of the things, I think there's some confusion sometimes about how important this work actually is. And when we look at the important projects that we're setting up, the film, which was wonderful, demonstrates how the schools can be things that will go on for generations. And as Christian has said, some of the older people are not getting any younger. And so there are certain things that can perpetuate the intellectual property of Shrimataji, the wisdom of her speeches. And one of the most, if not the most important thing, is what Christian has described very elegantly. The question I have is, in London, people will have public programs and they'll say, we don't need to subscribe to Nirmal Vidya, we don't even need to subscribe to amruta.org because things are just on YouTube, and they will sometimes play YouTube videos at public programs that are advertised. Could you make a comment about the wisdom of this, the legality of it, and what we should all be doing?
Thank you, Brian. The YouTube issue has been, floating around for some time. It's a very delicate one because most of the time it started with a good intention. A yogi wants to set up a YouTube channel and say, hey, go onto my YouTube channel, selects a number of Shrimataji's talks, which he or she finds appropriate for a particular event, and then post it and say, hey, I'm doing no harm. And we agree, we do no harm. But unfortunately, we've also seen people setting up their own YouTube channel for their own purpose, which sometimes has nothing to do with Sahaja Yoga or goes off the track of Sahaja Yoga. So from a pure legal point of view, I would say theoretically it's not legal to set up a YouTube channel using Shrimataji's talks, because the person who is setting up the YouTube channel does not own the intellectual property right. But I said, look, if the purpose is fine, we are not going to go against. Ideally, we would recommend the person to set up the link on the YouTube channel to the talk they want to use. That's easier than downloading the talk to their own YouTube channel. What you do, you can actually access very easily the particular talk you want to refer to. You set up your YouTube channel, and then you create a hyperlink to the talk you want to access, and that's it. That's our recommendation, because by doing so, you are within the frame of NIPC, Intellectual Property Corporation, and there is no infringement, and you can do whatever you want. But, I agree, there's been this practice over the years, and people feel, oh, why shall I do it? But on the other hand, I would say, Nirmal Vidya and Amruta have the most exhaustive database. There's no other website which has over 1,800 videos of Shrimataji or over 2,000 audios. So this is the most complete database on earth. And our job is to make it even more complete, trying to get access or get hold of the remaining plus 1,000 talks, which are still, spread around the world.
Thank you so much, Christian, for sharing this very important project of preserving our Holy Mother's